Welcome to the session, Power Up Your PowerPoint Powers, Create a Game in PowerPoint. I know the name sounds really silly and a mouthful. It was done intentionally to lure you in to the session. So hopefully I can share some tips and tricks with you about PowerPoint usage. It's not going to be a super detailed tutorial, but I just wanted to share some interesting highlights, features that maybe you were not aware of being used in PowerPoint, and then just use a game as an excuse to show you these features. So I'm going to start now. Before I start, just a quick 30 seconds to introduce myself if you haven't seen me before. My name is Ping, and I'm a learning experience designer from eConcordia. If you're not familiar with eConcordia, we were founded in 2001 by Concordia University. And our mandate is basically to develop online credited courses offered at the university. So we're basically helping faculty members develop courses online, and we're also providing support to faculty members and students while these online courses are ongoing. So I'm just one of many at the Concordia. So we're a multidisciplinary team. We have all kinds of backgrounds like instructional designers, interactive developers, graphic designers, etc., to ensure that we can provide a comprehensive support to the faculty members as well as to our students. So now I can jump directly to the agenda. Not very ambitious today because 25 minutes is not a very long time. So I'll try to basically be succinct and just go through some of these features together with you. So the first topic to answer is what do you mean by a PowerPoint game, right? So essentially, I'm not going to talk too much about it. So you'll see the example pretty clearly once I show it to you. Nothing too crazy or fancy. It's, like I said, just an excuse for me to show you some of the interesting features that PowerPoint have that you could use in your day-to-day work. After going through this little play session, I'm going to just tackle the design of this game and then through this introduce some of these features to you. And finally, if I can make it through without going over time, I just want to explain a little bit to you what the rationale was behind this undertaking, which might sound a little odd at first, but it'll make more sense when I get there. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump right into the game. What you're about to witness here was entirely created in PowerPoint. So I think that's a preface. I'm gonna slowly, or quickly go over it just so that you can see some of the different features of this little game that we're talking about. So we have a start button that you can just select, and it goes. There's supposed to be some music, so if you hear it, that's normal. It's just to set the mood. So this little game that I'm presenting is called the conversation. And the explanation is pretty simple. You're just playing the role of a very unfortunate peasant who has not been able to pay a tax to their lord somewhere fictional in medieval Japan. And it's called the conversation because the rule of the game is for you to go through this conversation, navigate, say the right things to not anger this very enigmatic character that's facing you. So I can just start the game. You can see here, this is the interface of you facing this enigmatic character. And we offer the player basically these choices that they can make in a choose your own adventure kind of mode. So this is really nothing new. It's just a rehash of an old idea. Just for the sake of exploration, I'm just going to say nothing. So I'm going to select say nothing as the option. And you can see that basically the character reacts to the choices. So now the character is unhappy because, you didn't say anything. Doesn't this one have good manners? I'm just going to say nothing again just to see what happens. So Insun Fool, guards, take him away. And you've been imprisoned, so without you, your clan collapses, your name is lost in history. It's a bit of a dark story, but you have a chance to restart the game. So once you select restart, you're going back to the beginning and the whole conversation starts over again. So it's really kind of a game where you can do a bit of, I would say, trial and error if you prefer, to try your different answers, test the different options and strategies. I don't want to spoil it, but just for the sake of presentation, I'll just go through one of the other paths where allows you to maybe get a different ending. So I'm just going to go through it. So honor and health to you, my lord. I'm going to select that one. So why are you late with your payment, peasant? Well, I guess the harvest has been poor, my lord. And it's really constantly going like that. And the more you progress in the conversation, the more I would say agitated the person gets. So it becomes a way for you to gauge firstly how they're reacting, and then second of all, what is the best strategy to answer. So in this particular case, I will say, my family has served yours for centuries. We are very loyal. Not loyal enough from what I see. What else can you possibly offer? And I will answer with the truth. What nonsense are you blabbering on about? So you can see that the story is slowly escalating now. It's not so much only about picking the right choice, the right answer in your conversation, but it's also to observe the scene. So you're looking at, the Lord is angry, so you know that they're probably a little bit on edge. And you're also trying to observe the background. Like, do you see anything particularly bizarre in the scene, etc.? So it's really a mixed bag of different kinds of mechanics that well, game mechanics that you can see in this kind of context. So I guess something evil rests in this castle because the mask looks very bizarre in this case. So I'll just select it, and then it triggers something. The Lord's like, well, what do you mean? And now you have the most important choice to make, which is deciding how to react to the situation. I just find the mask very creepy, so I'll just decide to choose to knock the mask off. But you have other options that you can pick, so I'll just knock the mask off. Sorry for the very retro sound effect. And you can see that now the scene has changed, a little bit different. The light, everything is back. So the realm is saved. So now you can see that the game this is another ending that you've just achieved through your little adventure chat, in this particular case. So yeah, this was actually just an example. So I'll just end the game. You've saved the Lord, etc. So you can go home as great as a hero. And that's the end of the game, basically. So this was essentially just a classical dialogue / branching scenario game that was executed in PowerPoint. So the next step I just wanted to share with you is some of the features that were used to create this mini little interactive game experience, if you will. So I'll just start with the branching aspect of it. So I think some of us are fairly familiar with the idea of a branching. So it's essentially this kind of choose your own adventure sort of story where you're plotting out different options. So you have question answer, and you offer the player different choices to make in their conversation, and then depending on the choice you make, the reaction comes in. So there's really a lot of possibilities, and this can grow exponentially very fast. In this particular case, is a very restricted. So you probably noticed that the dialogue tree is not super complicated, but in this particular case, you can see roughly what it looks like. In terms of tools, I think there are many tools that you can use for this. If you're familiar with Twinery, it's actually a really, really cool free tool, web-based, that you can use to create these kind of stories. And the cool part about it is that it allows you to actually publish the story in the end in HTML format. So you can actually write this kind of branching story and then just export it in the end as an HTML that you can then share with people. So if you're interested in this kind of branching stories, that is an interesting tool that you can use to plot out these branching kind of scenarios. Alternatively, you can also use Miro, for example, if this is something you use. Uh, we sometimes use it in our work to plot out these branching scenarios. But again, like at the end of the day, you can even use Excel if you want. I've done it before. Not recommended, but I mean, what the heck, right? So you can just use whatever tool you need to, get it started, because I think starting is always the hardest part. So once you get going, that's part of the process. So now so it's basically two pieces, right? You start with the plotting, so you're planning out this tree, the dialogue tree. Once you planned out the tree, I've just used one very simple feature in PowerPoint called the linking feature to basically tell people where to go from each point of the branch. So it's actually very simple. So if you look at the button that we have on screen here, if you just select it, it'll just bring me back to the menu of the branching. And the way to do this essentially is just to right click on the element that you're looking for and select this linking. I'm not sure if you see the little dialog pop up, but it should say there's an option. If when you right click on objects, it should have this option of linking. And when you open the link, you just have to select the option that says place this in this document. And it allows you to basically create interactive elements on your slide that can that can help you travel through your presentation. So in this particular case, I've just linked it to this anatomy page, and the button automatically brings me back to that place. So this whole story that you've seen earlier, every button are just linked buttons that brings you to the correct slide. Of course, I think the heavy lifting really comes from planning your branch correctly. But once that's figured out, the linking process is just well, it just basically, it's pretty straightforward linking. So in that particular case, it's so everything you've seen here so far is just using this linking button to link the correct places to the right outcome. So yeah, that's really basically what the branching that was used for. Now, the second option that I just wanted to share with you is the idea of using PowerPoint as a graphic creation element, if you will. So now I'm not saying the PowerPoint is an amazing graphical design, element, but in a pinch, it can actually help you create some basic, interesting graphics. So if I can just show you this example here, this is a really cool little menu that one of my graphic designer colleague created. I can just try to replicate it to show you some of these little features that PowerPoint can allow you to create more than just little squares and little circles. So this can be replicated in a few quick steps. Like I said, it's not a detailed tutorial, but I'm just going to go through the motion to show you some of the possibilities that you can do. So this kind of stretched out circle is essentially this rounded rectangle. You just round the corners, so you end up with the same shape. You turn it into white to match the background. You remove the outline. So now you kind of already start having this similar shape. You can reduce the transparency into like 20%-ish, 80%. So now you're getting close to this shape. I'm going to try to do this little circle here with the house. So you're just dragging a little circle. Eavesdropper, if you're not familiar with it, can allow you to very quickly steal colors that are in the rest of your slide. So now I have the little circle. I remove the outline. So now I have the little it's starting to get similar, right? So the house, I'll try to do the house icon, which is basically a triangle with two little squares. So I'm just going to do the triangle here, two squares, make them all white, remove the outline, and merge them. So now I actually have the house icon in one little element on the slide. I'll just resize it, and you're getting pretty close, to what my colleague designed. And then now you're just adding, shadows to make it pop a little bit more. So now you're just adding the shadows, and now suddenly, it's starting to look like what, your colleague created. So I'm not saying that, again, PowerPoint is the ultimate image graphic design tool, but if you really need to do something very quickly, you can actually stay in PowerPoint and very, very quickly get it done. And one feature that's actually quite interesting is that if you go into the Insert tab, PowerPoint actually has stock images that you can insert into your slides very quickly. So you don't even have to go on Shutterstock or on Pixabay to look for them. You can literally just pop them in and use them. So for example, I don't know what this is, but I'll just drop this image of two cats hanging out together. And so this is an option to actually add content to your slide. There's also an option to add 3D models, which I'm going to talk about right after. But this is just a demonstration of some of the graphical capabilities that you can use in PowerPoint if you're stuck or if you're in a pinch. The next example I want to show you is some of the animation examples that you can do in PowerPoint. So in this particular case, of course, all these graphics are done in PowerPoint. Not the best, but it's just illustrative purposes. You have this digital Skillshare days truck moving through the street. Now, if you don't really like this kind of animation, you can back up the truck a little bit and try something else. So that was the truck moving through it. Now you want a camera to stay on the truck but move the rest of the background to create another feature. So you can actually just move the background and keep the truck stationary, and you get a slightly different vibe. The magic of this kind of animation is that it can literally be done in 2 clicks. And the idea here is, in the old school days, if you will, you would have had to select your element, go into animation, go into your line path, and then draw it where, place it where you want it to be, and then do all this kind of manipulation. If you have a recent enough version of PowerPoint, you should have a feature called morphing. And it's basically in the transition tab in Morph. And all you really have to do is between 2 slides. So you can see here, one slide, the truck is on one hand. On the next slide, the truck is on the other side. You just have to select this transition as morph. And when you get into slideshow mode, PowerPoint can automatically move the objects from the destination, from the starting point to the destination. So in this particular case, I moved the truck, but in the next example, all I did is I moved all the background. So you're essentially doing the same thing, just moving objects. So this can actually create very effective simple but effective animations very quickly. And just to show you an example of what it can be done for that can be used in a different scenario, we had developed this little promotional animation video for one of our JMSB courses. So we're bringing the student into a beer brewery, as you can see, JMS Brew, to basically introduce them to a business scenario. So in this particular case, all these animations were done with the morphing function. So this is something that could really help people do quick animations if you don't have enough time to do all your, plotting and planning, all this stuff. So yeah, so the next step I want to mention to share with you is the infamous 3D element. So you can see here the digital Skillshare Tyrannosaurus dinosaur, where you can actually just using the same feature in Insert, select 3D models and have stock 3D models that you can add into your PowerPoint. So of course you can't pick them, but you can actually add your own 3D model if you want. A little bit out of scope for this presentation, but you can do that if you want. So this is how I dropped this dinosaur. What's really interesting is that the morphing function that was shown just earlier can also work with 3D models. So in this particular case, in this slide, the T-Rex is facing frontally, and the next slide rotated the T-Rex 90 degrees, rotated them again, and zoomed in a little bit, and then they went back, and then they go back to the front facing position. So what this means is that once you go into this animation and you go from the slide to slide, you actually end up getting these pretty interesting rotational animations about your 3D models from when you go from slide to slide. So this can actually create very interesting um, designs if you're looking for I can't imagine what kind of scenarios you would use this for, but it can be a very helpful method to really create very quick, interesting things in this particular situation. So uh, so in this particular case, yes, I just saw Kate mention. Of course, yeah, you can absolutely export these animations. So that's even. Thank you for reminding me, Kate. So it's actually really, really good because you can actually create these animations and just export them as exactly as Emmy says, videos, GIFs, everything. So it's actually it can be quite a capable tool for people who are trying to do, very simple things. So just to summarize, right, what are the 3 different PowerPoint powers that we've looked at today? So PowerPoint can create branching mechanics. So if you're doing a story, interactive, or just an interactive kind of presentation, the linking feature can allow users to just move through the presentation very easily. Number 2 is that it can create visuals, whether you like it or not. So if you're in a pinch, you can probably do something very quick and nice in PowerPoint, something simple, of course. And finally, the PowerPoint can also create animations. So these animations that you can export, use them as insert them into different programs, as Kate mentions. So this can be actually very, very interesting. Uh, and I think so. This is really, I think, the 3 features that I want to highlight today. And to close, I just wanted to mention a little bit, uh, a little, just to say a few words about the origin of this activity. So why did this happen exactly? Like why did I decide to create this this little game in PowerPoint when you could be, just in terms of uh, well, there's so many other tools to create like these activities while you're using PowerPoint. So in this particular case, uh, just to go back a few years back, I want to just spend a few words talking about the maker mindset. So when the pandemic hit, our teams actually fully transitioned to remote work at eConcordia. And in this particular case, what happened is that Guillaume, our chief of operations, was trying to find solutions to help us maintain team cohesion because we were no longer working that closely together. So you can see here an approximate representation of Guillaume because I could not find a photo of him in the time frame that I had for making the presentation. So through his effort, he actually created a makers club in eConcordia. So what exactly is the Makers Club? It's essentially this informal grouping of colleagues with the Teams channel where every few weeks we would drop a random topic that Guillaume would pick, and everybody would basically go home and just do something with the topic, loosely interpreted. So we had people who built like bug hotels, we had people who built cardboard arms, etc., robotic arms, musical instruments out of cardboard boxes. We had one colleague who's actually an engineer by training, and he decided to remind all of us that he is an engineer by training and showed us these really complicated schematics to basically design a wind chime, for example. So it was really a way for us to learn new things and to share with each other. And from this Makers Club came another club within Concordia called the Arts Club, where all these colleagues are getting together weekly, and we're just centering ourselves around one specific topic and just everybody just spending the week to create something interesting, and at the end of the week everybody shares their work, and then the whole thing starts over and over and over again. So this whole idea of sharing knowledge, if I can echo what Paul talked about yesterday in his keynote speech, is really about putting people at the center of this technology. And this is something that we've always believed, at least in all the work that we do at eConcordia, of putting the technology at the service of students and professors, not the other way around. Because ultimately, people decide what you can do with the technology, not necessarily the other way around. And to close, at least in terms of our lessons learned, is that passion is very contagious. It can really help people learn new things, especially in a peer-to-peer context. So colleague teaching other colleagues how to do things, very interesting. And the common interests that are discovered in this way can help us break down these silos. Because even if I'm not working with this particular colleague very closely every day, all of a sudden, because I know what they're interested in and all these things, the moment that we start working together, the collaborations are actually much smoother. So if any of you want to start some kind of club culture in your work unit, please don't hesitate to just do it and try it. Nothing to lose. And if you want any ideas, I would also like to mention in passing that we have a great technology sandbox at the library with Yasha and her team. Amazing space. If you want ideas of things to tinker about, all these things, please just go and hang out with those with them. It's a great space. So and that brings me to the end of my talk. I hope I did okay in time. So yeah, right on time. So yeah, well, thank you very much for taking the time to attend this meeting. I can stick around a little bit for questions if you have any. But if you have to go, please don't feel bad. Just please go enjoy the other things.